Hello everyone and welcome back to Crash That Code. Today we are going to be actually exploring the third video in our group messaging chat app series. So in the simulator here I have the current state of our app. In the previous two videos we implemented a sign up and a login feature within our app. We connected our app to Firebase and basically laid the groundwork. Now we're going to start building the messaging features. We're actually going to start laying out the groundwork for the messaging features in this video, and then hopefully get to some of the core logic in the next one and in the coming. If you have not watched the previous videos, I highly recommend learning how to do this, as it is a very crucial topic. Anyways, with that being said, let's move on. So the first thing we want to do is, once the user basically signs up, we want to show the home view controller. And this home view controller will essentially be a table view with all of the user's group messages. So in order to do that, the first thing we need to do is we need to go to this main.storyboard and actually create a new view controller. So we're going to create a table view controller like that. And then we're actually going to also embed in a navigation controller. So let's go to the editor, embed in, or let's not do that. We actually want to embed in a navigation controller like that. And then let's just do some quick UI update so that the nav bar matches the rest of our app. So we'll first change this to maybe something like this, chat app. And let me just zoom in to make that more clear. And then let's also change some of the appearance features. I'm going to change the bar tint to our standard color. And if you want to know the hex color, it's this. So you can pause the video and see that if you'd like a more clear look. And then we're actually going to add a font. So the way to do that is we need to first put system and then go back to custom. And then I personally am a big fan of Avenir Next, and then I love the heavy font. Click done. And then for title color, we're going to have a white title color. And then we're also just going to set the background like that. Okay, and this will lay out fine, so don't worry about that. And I think that concludes it. And basically then we would just want to create a new file. And we're actually going to create two files. So first, let's just create a Swift file. And we'll call this messages view controller. And click create. And then we also want to create a new file called new message view controller. Click create. And we'll just have these two files for now. We will need more in the coming videos. And then we just need to import UIKit and just import all the Firebase stuff we need. I think we're going to need, database, and then also maybe storage. And then let's just implement the class. So we want class to be of messages controller, and this is going to be type UI table view controller like that. And then we actually just want to copy that and then paste like that. Okay, so that sets up those two. We just need to change this to new messages controller. And then let's go back to our storyboard. And then over here we will set the class to messages controller. Or here, let's change it to messages view, new messages view, and that's just standard naming, find the thing. So change it back to new messages controller, and then, or no, messages, sorry guys, view controller, copy that, and then what we actually want to do is, instead of pasting the storyboard ID there, we want to paste the storyboard ID here. And I'll explain why. Because if we paste it here, it won't actually show the navigation bar. So once that's done, here's what we actually want to do. We want to go over here, and then let's just put a override function view did load like that, and then let's just create two buttons. So we're gonna have let's see, right bar button item, and we're gonna set that equal to UI bar button item, and this is gonna be the default system. So dot compose self and hashtag selector of handle new message tap. Okay, and then all we have to do is do self dot navigation, and I think item, and then dot right bar button item, and set that equal to this right bar button item. Over here we can also say dot tint color, maybe not. Here, let's do, maybe we have to do it here. Let's just quickly create this function down below so it stops complaining. Okay, and for now we'll also add in this let left bar button item, and this has to equal our custom bar button item with this title, and we're gonna name it of logout like that, dot plain. Okay, self and hashtag selector, and the selector will be maybe handle log out button tap like that, and then we'll do self dot navigation item dot right bar button item, and set that equal to this left bar button item. So that should do it. The next thing we need to do is we need to implement this function called handle logout button tap. Okay, and I also just want to test something out. Let's see, self dot navigation item dot, can we set the tint? No, okay, tint can't do it, like dot tint color like that, and then my color dot white. We want it to be a white tint color, and then make sure you change this to left bar button item. And then we want the same thing for the left bar button item, right? Left bar button item like that. So I believe that should work. And then over here we'll say handle Firebase logout, and then over here we'll say handle show new message view. And for now we're going to actually leave this view controller like that. What we actually need to do is we need to show the messages view controller, otherwise that code will be useless. So what we're going to do is, right after the user clicks the sign up button, and if the sign up was successful, we're going to show the view controller. So the way to do that is we're going to say let's storyboard, and we're going to set that equal to UI storyboard, and the name is going to be main bundle nil. Then we want to say here, let's just go over here and then click, look up display storyboard Swift, and we're going to also say present, yes, I believe it was something to do with instantiate. Okay, so that's what we have to do. I just wanted to see the proper code to make sure I was doing it correctly. So then what we want to do is we want to say let messages view controller, and this equals storyboard dot instantiate, and with identifier, and this identifier is going to be whatever we set over here. I want to just copy that and then paste it back right here within the quotes. And then we will maybe want to also cast it as this messages view controller, like that. And then I believe there's just a present. Yeah, okay. Then we just do self dot present, command Z, self dot present this view controller to present, and then this becomes the messages view controller, animated true, completion nil, because we don't want to do anything when it's completed. And then we just take this code here, copy it, and then we want to do the same thing in our login. So once we get our user, instead of just printing it, we actually want to show the main screen like that. And that should work. So since we haven't run it, let's actually run it to see if all our code works. For some reason this won't quit. This is just Apple's way of testing stuff. So let's open this. In the meantime, I actually don't have our Firebase chat app open. So I actually want to go to that. Let's see if I can change accounts here. And we want to crash that code. I'm going to enter in my password. Super duper secure doing this online. And then let's just go to our project. And we're just going to need this to see in the future. I actually don't know if we're going to need it now, but let's just have it open so it's nice. And let's go to our database. Okay. Now that's taken care of. Let's test out the sign up. And I was just, fooling around here. So you can create as many accounts as you want. I was just creating a couple because it becomes easier when testing your chat application. So I'm just going to call this guy maybe, I don't know, George. Okay. And then we're going to do george@gmail.com. And then a super secure password of hello123. Click sign up. Okay, so I believe I know what the problem is. So if you look over here, we are actually presenting the navigation controller, and when we cast it to type messages view controller, it doesn't work. That was a mistake on my part. We don't actually need to cast it, so you might as well take it out. So now, upon running it, it should hopefully work. And I just want to see if that user was created. Yes, the user was created. So let's let that load. And then upon loading, we want to go to sign up again, and then do another guy. So let's do this as Greg. And then maybe greg@gmail.com. And then again, a super secure password of hello123. And then sign up. and then you see how it works. That looks kind of nice. I think the UI looks pretty good actually. So once we click log out, we should log out. So that's the next thing we're going to do, and then we're going to work on presenting this controller. So in order to log out, how do we exactly do that? As usual, the first thing we need to do is look at the Firebase documentation. That is always what I recommend as the first thing you do when actually opening it, working with Firebase, because the documentation always has the answer, and that's the way to go before you ask any questions on Firebase, etc. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go over here. Actually, we can just click go to docs. And then we're going to try and log out the way it asks us to. So we go here, and in the meantime, log out user Firebase Swift. Doing a really quick search like that can also find you the answer for most problems. So then we just want to go here, and then I'm pretty sure someone has the answer. Bam. It works like that. So we just want to go to analytics. Let's move down, real-time database, and then iOS, and then let's do get started. Pretty sure they have something there. The next thing we want to do is maybe go down. Next step, maybe it's in read and write data. And if it's not there, we'll keep on checking. Okay, so we're just going to use the Stack Overflow answer and see if it works. So let's go to messages view, and then let's just enter in that very simple thing. And then what we actually want to do is we also want to, actually, you know what, this is not the right way. I'm going to look at my old project. I remember there was something better to do. So I'm going to actually go into my user edits file on this view profile. And then this was the right way to do it, I remember. So before ever logging the user out, we actually want to check if there is a user to log out. And if you don't do this, it might crash, right? And we don't want anything to be crashing. So it still has the same line, try for auth, and that's like the main line. But we also have this present VC, which will actually present a view controller once the user is logged out. So ideally, we want this to be our home view controller. So let's just go to our main storyboard quickly and set what our home view controller should be. And ideally, this should be our home view controller. And I've already set it as our home view controller. So let's just delete this and set it to home like that. Okay. And main.instantiate, that looks pretty good. Let's just change the name up to maybe home view controller, just for having better standards, making the code a bit more clear. And then we're actually going to run this just to test it out and see what happens. In the meanwhile, we're going to just clear some of these tabs. And let's see if we can, I forget where it was, but yeah, normally you'll be able to find things pretty quickly, and it's always good to refer to the documentation first. But Stack Overflow is also pretty helpful. The next thing we're actually going to do is we're going to actually end up creating a custom cell class for our new messages controller, and I'll show you how that works. And you know what, for now we're actually just going to log in. So I believe one of my old accounts was rohan@gmail.com, and I had a password of hello123. Once I click log in, let's just see if it logs out. It logs out. Splendid. Let's just try logging in again. Hello123. Log in. Okay. We get our main screen, and we can log out again if we want to. Instead, we're going to focus on what should we do when we tap this, right? So we actually just want to add in this override function view did load as always, and then we just super.view did load, calling on the class function, right? And then we also want to implement some table view functions, but before we do that, let's set up the navigation bar, right? So we're going to do navigation item.title and set that equal to new message, right? And then we also just want to copy this button code, and we're going to need two buttons for this, and I'll explain why. We're going to need a create button and a cancel button. So I'm just going to copy this again and paste it over there. And we're going to change this to right bar button item. Command copy that. This should be right. This should be right. Left, left. That looks good. And then over here we're going to have this create. And then over here we're going to have this cancel. And then this is just going to be called handle cancel tap. And this is going to be called handle create tap. And I believe we might change this a bit later. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we should probably have the create be the right bar button item. So let's just change that a bit. And this should be the left bar button item. That's just like the standard way, like the cancel, it's always on the other side. And then let's just implement these functions here. So like that. We just want to dismiss the view controller. Animated true, completion nil. And then let's also implement the other function. And this function should just be called handle create tap, like that. And that looks good for now. We're not going to bother with this video. That will be actually for a further video. For now, all we're going to do is now focus on the table view. So first table override method for the table view is actually here. I think it's number of, not sections, rows in section. And for now, we're just going to return a solid case of 5. And then the next one, I believe, was cell for rowet index path. And I believe those are the two main ones. So in this cell for, we just want to create a cell and set it equal to table view dot dq reusable cell, and this will just be for cell ID and then this index path. And when we run this, this will crash because we haven't actually registered the table view, and I'll explain what that means. Turn cell. So we actually need to go to our view did load and do something called, I believe it's like table view dot register cell class, and we need to register the cell class. So we're actually just going to use the default cell class for now. Table view cell dot self, and for since we're going to be using it multiple times, I'm just going to create this cell ID and set it equal to cell ID. I'm just going to copy that and paste that there, and then also paste that there. Turn cell, and then for now we'll just set some dummy text. So we'll just do like cell dot text label dot text, not tint color, but dot text, and maybe set it equal to this dummy text. Right, now we're gonna run it. let's log in. Rohan@gmail.com. Hello123. Log in. And then we want to click. Oh, my bad. We forgot the most important thing, presenting this actual view controller. So we just want to go back to this message, and we never actually did. So this time, since it's not a storyboard, we're actually going to create a reference and push it. So that's the way we're going to do it. We're going to create a reference called new message controller, and make this of type new message view controller like that, and then set it equal to this new message view controller like that. And we're going to do self.navigation controller, and we're dot push view controller, and this would be the new message view controller and animated true. And now when running it, hopefully it should work. I actually don't want to push it, I want to present it. Dot present, and this should be this new message view, new message view, new message controller, animated true, completion no. And on doing this, this actually won't give us the desired result. It won't present it with a navigation controller. So the next step actually is to embed that within here. So I'm just going to go to the actual code and see how I did that, and then we'll implement that in a similar way. Okay? So this is what I mean. You actually have to embed it. And upon embedding it, so let nav controller, and this is where you actually embed that controller within. And now it should actually run with the, no, it won't actually work. We have to present this nav controller now. And now it should actually present it with the navigation controller. And I think the cool thing will be that the new message controller will inherit all the previous properties. If I'm right. And I'm praying to God it does. Because that will actually just make it much easier. So let's just log in. And maybe in some later videos we will figure out how to make this login process easier. So it didn't actually do what I said, but the cells are working as we can see, and we'll fix out this UI a bit later. And then if we click cancel, it cancels. If we click create, nothing should happen. We can select okay. Everything looks pretty good. So the interesting part of this video is, in order to set up this cell, there's a couple things we need to do. The first thing is we need to actually create a model class. And what a model class is, not a model class, but just something under our models file. And we're going to create this user file, okay? And this user file is going to be of type NSObject. And it's going to be basically a class that contains all our user properties. And it's just going to make it really easy to access, our user properties. This should be for data snapshot. And then we're going to create this class called user of type NSObject, like that, okay? And then we're just going to create some properties. So if you go to your database, there's basically three properties that are four properties that each of our users have: their ID, email, full name, and their photo. And all of these are of type string, right? So that makes it kind of easy for us. So we just have to do var user ID, and we're going to set that to be of type string optional. And then we also want a var email to be set of string type, and actually not optional because we know it's going to be there. And then we also want var full name, and this to be of type string. And then var user photo, and this to be of type string. Now this sets up the properties. What actually makes all of this interesting is this initializer I'm about to show you and how to create it. And this is actually going to make a lot of our lives easier. And you're going to see what the cool thing it does. So we're going to do this initializer. This should be for data snapshot like that. And then we want to do it like that, okay? And then every time, and I'm going to explain this code. I'm just trying to get it in here. We're going to create this guard let dictionary equals snapshot dot value as string to any, right? And then comma, and then we just want to let full name, and we want to set this equal to this dictionary full name, and cast it as a type string, comma again, let email, set this dict to email, and cast it as type string, and then let maybe user photo, and set it equal to this dictionary type user photo, and cast it to value of type string. And then the last thing we want to do is else, right, and then return. So basically, if any of these properties are nil, it's going to return. Okay, that looks, and we just want to return nil. And then maybe here, let's just make it a bit cleaner, like that. And then below the guard, so if all of these properties are there, we actually want to do some stuff. So we want to set user ID equal to this snapshot dot key. We want to set this email equal to email, and self dot full name, and set that equal to full name, and then self dot user photo, and make that equal to user photo. So that's actually a really interesting initializer, and basically what this does is whenever we call on this and we feed in a Firebase snapshot, it will actually set all our key values to this, and it'll make our lives much easier when it comes to setting up our new message controller. So before we can actually move on, I want to create one more file that will help us with the new message controller. And we just want to go to chat app and double click and then create new group. And we want to create this views group, and then put it under maybe this models. And then we want to create a new file under this. And this new file is going to be called our user cell. I'm going to call it our display user cell. Okay, it's going to be called the display users cell. And then upon clicking create, we'll have the cell like that. And then I'm going to try and quickly do this. It's just mostly UI that I've come up with. So we're going to create this class called display users cell. I'm going to be a type UI table view cell like that. And then just do a couple things. We want to have a profile image view, and we want to set that to be of type UI image view. Set that equal like that, and then let image view equal this UI image view, and then image. In order to actually constrain it, we need to set this properties called translates, and we need to set that equal to false image, and then we just want to make it a circle, so dot layer dot corner radius, and set that equal to 24, because we're going to make the image actually 48 in width and height. And then we want to do image view dot layer dot masks to bounds, and set that equal to true. And then image view dot content, mode and set that equal to dot scale aspect fill. And then we just want to return the image view. I hope I'm not going too fast. I just want to get some of this UI stuff out of the way. That way we can move on to the more interesting thing. The next thing we want to create is a time label. And this is just going to be of type UI label. Then we just want to do this let label equal this UI label. And we want to do the same thing. Label.translates authorizing making constraints equals false, but then we don't actually want any of this. So then we just want to do label.font and set this equal to this UI font system UI font dot system font of size, and this should be, I believe, 13. And then we also want to set label dot text color and set that equal to UI color dot dark gray, and then that's it. And then we just want to return the label. Okay, so after this, there's just a couple more things we need to set. So we're going to actually do that in this override function view layout subviews, and then just call it the super.layout subviews like that. We want to reference this text label dot frame and we want to set this equal to cg rect, and this is going to be xy like that. So we want this to be 64, and then the y to be this text label dot frame dot origin dot what was it called, dot y, and then I'm going to subtract that by 2. And these are all pre-tested stuff, so that's why I'm just filling this in. Width, no, we need to do dot frame dot size, I believe, or no, I think we can just do dot width after this. Yeah, okay. And then we just want to do the same thing, text label dot frame dot height, right? And the next thing we want to do is this detail text label dot frame, and set this equal to cg rect again. And I'm actually just going to copy this, because it's mostly going to stay the same, and paste it like that, and then just set this to detail text label, and this is going to be 64. Instead of minus, this is going to be plus, and then we also just want to change the text label to detail text label. And then the final thing we need to do is we need to actually constrain the time label and profile image view we created up here. So in order to do that, we just do this override initializer like that, and then in it we want to do super.init and then dot subtitle for reuse identifier, and this is just going to be this reuse identifier like that. Alrighty. And now we just want to do add sub view and add the subviews that we created up here. So profile image view, and we also just want to add the time label to the subview, and add time label like that. And then we just want to constrain. So constraints time. So I want to do profile image view dot left anchor dot constraint equal to ns self dot left anchor comma 8, and then you always want to have this dot is active and set it equal to true, otherwise the constraint actually won't show up. I'm going to do profile image view dot center y anchor dot constraint equal to this self dot center y anchor with a constant. Actually, we don't want a constant, so we can just delete that, and then dot is active and set that equal to true. And then we're going to do profile image view dot what's it called? We want to also set the width anchor and dot constraint equal to this constant of 48, and then I believe we just need to do the same thing for the height. So dot height anchor, and then we just want to do dot is active equals true, dot is active equals true. Okay. The last thing we need to do is this time label. So you just need to do time label dot right anchor and then dot constraint equal to basically this self dot right anchor and dot is active equals true. Then time label dot top anchor dot constraint equal to this self dot top anchor and set the constant equal to 18 dot is active. And I'm sorry guys, this is just mostly UI stuff that we just have to get out of the way. I'm trying to go as quick as possible. I've already thought about these constraints previously, so I'm just really filling this in for you guys so that you can see. The interesting stuff actually will come after this when we use this custom cell class of ours to create a nice looking cell that displays all of our users in our new message view controller. And then this is the last one, and then this has to be of equal to, we want to set this equal to this text label dot height anchor. This should just be dot is active equals true. Whew, that was a lot of code. I think when we build this, it'll give us an error. And that's normal if it does. So for these ones, for this one actually, it should have that required in it, initializer. And then for this, I believe it's just requiring some optional. Same with that. Same with this. So that gets rid of all of our errors. So now we just have to move on to the last part, and that is we want to change some of this code up. And the way to do that, you must be wondering, is actually very simple. We just need to go where we register this and change this to display users cell, and then also change and cast this to display users cell. Okay, it's actually pretty simple. And then on the top over here, we want to actually let a users array, and let's make this a var actually, var users, and set this equal to this array of type user. So this is an empty array of type user, which is this object we created here. So we basically have an empty array of users, right? And then we want to create this observer called observe and append users to append users, okay? Command copy that and then create this new function down here called observe and append users. And then over here we just want to do for database dot child, or no, dot reference dot child, and we want to go into our users class, and then we just want to observe the whole thing of dot value with this maybe this user snapshot, okay? And then over here, this is where the magic happens. We just do if let user and set that equal to this user object we built, and then we fill in this user snapshot. And this basically gives us access to all the user properties now. And then basically now we have, now what we want to do is we want to set user ID, I think it is. Why isn't it? Just give it some time to think. Let's just build it. And we want to, let's first get rid of that error. Okay. And then over here, we just actually want to do user dot, I believe it's user ID, and set this equal to the snapshot dot key. And then we also want to do this users dot append and this user, and then we just want to do self dot table dot reload data. Okay, and then over here we're actually going to return users dot count, and then over here we're going to set the cell dot text label equal to this actually before we do that, we need to create this variable called let user, and we need to set this equal to users and index path dot row, and then the cell dot text label needs to be set to user dot we're going to set to full name, and then the cell dot detail text label, we're going to set this equal to user dot email, like so. And then we're going to do cell dot profile. Actually, we'll deal with the profile image view in the next video. For now, we're just going to do it this way, and then when running it, hopefully this all will work. This was a lot of code, so I think it, besides these minor errors, user snapshot dot key and then self dot users dot append is it, oh, okay, so I forgot to say dot text like that, and then dot text like that, and then running this, it should hopefully work. What's the problem now? So just a couple more unwrapping things, and now it should work. Or no, maybe some more unwrapping things. And so before we run this application right now with the email set like that, we actually need to do one more thing, and we need to do this height for row at index path, and we want to basically return, I think it's 72. Okay, and then we also want to change this to dot child added, and then running it. Hopefully this will work. And so now let's just go in here, gmail.com, click login, click new message, and boom, it's set up. But there seems to be something wrong, and when we click on it, you can see George is showing up and Rohan is showing up. So I believe that is most likely a bug with this display user cell. And so it's going to be something wrong with the detailed text label, because when we clicked on it, that seemed to be in the right place. The text label seemed to be in the right place. So just looking at it, this should be detail text label, and then upon running it, this should actually work. And that is the negatives of copy pasting. Just need to be more clear. And I believe that should work. Upon clicking new message, it displays it like that. So in the next video, we'll actually get the image view to show. That actually just requires us setting the image view really simply, but we'll do that with a library that will allow us to load images faster, and it'll cache it in the background. And so in the meantime, that will actually end it for this video. Basically what we did was we implemented a login feature and set the groundwork for our messages app. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe the video. It really helps out, and thanks again.